So the small things that add up, the bigger events that might be more obvious, and then anticipation and fear of negative events. These three different categories, all of those things. And of course, if you have a bunch of those things happen, if you're accumulating all of this, and then you have a large event, boy, you're just going to be triggered even more. And
Yeah.
the 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 coping mechanism that we reach out for, it's kind of like how much anesthesia do you need? And the bigger it is, the more anesthesia that an addict might reach for.
That is a great analogy. It's a wonderful word picture to help people understand that. That's correct. Depending upon the severity of the um, negative events, and not just the intensity of them, but how many do you allow stack up before you do anything? Right. That's gonna determine what kind of a dosage of anesthesia you need.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. So the third step here in the steps to successfully manage emotional triggers is realize the inner child correlates the current events with similar events from the past. You alluded to that already a little bit when you talked about being made fun of as a child, right? So something that happens today that reminds you of the past is what you're talking about here, right?
Right. That's exactly what I'm talking about here. Something happens today, and our kid, if it is a trigger for him, he reaches into his storage unit, he pulls something out and says, "We have felt this before. We have done this." And the problem with that is that whenever the event, let's say there was an event that happened, and on a scale of 1 to 10, your anxiety over that event is like a 3. Okay, it's bothering you, but it's not, astronomical. When the kid pulls something out and subconsciously it runs beneath the surface, something that's very similar, because again, we felt this before. Now your anxiety continues to escalate. You think it's about the current event. It's not just about the current event. It's about the fact that you've experienced something like this. Now in many cases, the kid has it wrong. May not really match up, but you feel there's some similarities there. So now instead of your anxiety being at a 3, it's a 4, it's a 5, it's a 7, it's a 9, and you reach a breaking point that you say, I can take no more of this. And what you're going to do is go to seek comfort or numbing out in some sort of destructive behavior. So therefore, if you understand if your inner child could be triggered by something when an event happens and you're prepared for that, if you're going through and processing the current event and now you notice, oh, why am I getting more and more anxious about this? Then I could sit down and start to figure out, okay, when have I felt this before? What is this like that's happened to me in the past? So therefore, what I want to do, I want to take those two worlds and I want to separate them. I want to put the past back there, and I want to just be able to focus on the present based on his current circumstances alone. And when that happens, your anxiety is going to come down. And the reason that we're so focused on anxiety, because as our anxiety increases, our compulsiveness increases. And as our compulsiveness increases, the likelihood of making bad decisions also increases.
Hmm. So the power of association, just like if I say sand, you think of the beach, and then you think of a vacation when you were a child, and the positive things that happened. Well, maybe negative things happened in that vacation. Whatever it is, the current circumstance reminds you of the past, and something inside of us is triggered. It's like this warning system alert going off, like a smoke alarm.
Yes, that's a really good way of thinking about it. It's an alert system. Okay, that again, we've been here, we felt this. The problem with that alarm system is sometimes the alarms are false alarms because the kid is afraid and there's probably no reason to be fearful. Okay, I'll give you an example. All right, talking to a client earlier this morning who he having a very, very difficult time being there for his wife and helping her as she grieves. And the reason being is that when she's upset and she is like, letting him have it, he goes back to his brother. When he had a brother who was very, very abusive to him most of their childhood. Okay. And his parents did nothing about it. Said you have to solve it yourself, work it out yourself. And he couldn't. He just had to endure this abuse. So therefore, when his wife starts, he just withdraws. He starts to wilt, and he can't do anything to be able to help her. So what we've been doing is pulling those two worlds apart to make him see, no, your wife is not your enemy. Your wife is your ally, but she's hurting because of things that you've done. That's the way you have to look at her. And we have to take your brother and we have to throw him out of the room because he's there. So that's what we do when we try and take the two worlds apart. Look at the circumstances today through the eyes of rational thinking.
Hmm. Yes, and in that moment, he didn't probably didn't realize that his wife he is really relating to her as if she were his
Oh,
brother.
yeah, no, not at all. We have absolutely no idea that that's what's going on. He's just looking at his wife and thinking, "Oh my God, she's just angry with me. She's upset with me. Why is she being this way? I know I've hurt her, but still, her intensity is too strong." And he's very, very defensive. And like I said, shut down. Now he's not as defensive. He still gets defensive every once in a while, but not as defensive because again, he starts going through the process because it still scares him when she gets that way, but
Yeah.
he's doing a much better job of being able to lower his anxiety so that he can stay with her. And now the idea of looking at his wife as an ally, and what I also have him doing is looking to see her little girl, the pain that her little girl had, and stay there. And that's helped him dramatically.
Hmm. So if you were to estimate, um, if she were speaking to him in an unkind way, of course, you know, everyone would have a little bit of a reaction. What percentage, if you were to throw it out there, just guess, what percentage is from the past do you think that we're feeling inside? And what percentage might be from today? It probably varies from event to event, right? For
Yeah,
sure. But
it depends on what the event is. But if you are activated, that number's high. I mean, you're talking 80%, 90% that is really playing in because again, you're not focused on reality. You're not focused on the what's really going on here. You're being driven by all the raw emotions that are just telling you this is too intense. I can't handle it. If she need I basically what the kid is telling you, shut it down. That's what the kid wants to do. Shut it down. And so that's what the focus will become. So now we'll start with our defense mechanisms. Might start lying, might start minimizing, being defensive. You know, it's just there's many different things that we can do versus no, let me stay here in the moment and try to understand what is the pain point.
mhm, yeah, and it takes work to get there
It
for
does.
sure. It's a process. And so moving on into the next step is step number 4, process activated negative emotional triggers. Experience the hurt, discomfort felt by the inner child. So the seems like by default we want to move away from that feeling by numbing it. We talked about anesthesia and addictive behavior, but what you're talking about, is this like leaning into it, maybe?
That's exactly what it is, Michael. Meaning in, this is what we don't want to do at all, but is so critical. We need to be able to sit and to understand what are all the emotions that I am currently experiencing at this time. And because that leads us into step number five, but I need to be able to sit here, be able to put down these emotions on paper, what's going on, and then be able to sit with them for a few minutes, process them, and understand they will not kill you. See, the reason again, why can't we do this? Because when we were younger, there was nobody there to show us how. So instead of figuring out ourselves, which would have been impossible to do, we came up with the coping strategy of, I won't think about it. And so therefore you go and you distract yourself with other behaviors to be able to do that. And then we just carry that same behavior into our adult world, and it's not benefiting us at all.
Hmm. Right. So leaning into it, experiencing some of the hurt, sitting in that pain is difficult. It's exactly what we were running away from. And
Yeah, it's actually impossible. See, this is where we run into the big issue in the recovery process when the wife is trying to heal. And what's the biggest complaint we get? He's not there. He can't sit with me with my pain. He's always being defensive. He's minimizing. He's withdrawing. Yeah, you know what? He can't sit with his own pain. How's he going to sit with yours? And that's why it's through the inner child process that we can teach men how to sit with the pain. Therefore, we can give the wife what they want and what they need. And that is somebody
yeah,
who is fully engaged and investing. Because we don't invest unless it's for our own benefit. If we're going to get something back out of it, we're going to invest. If we're not getting anything out of it, we're not investing. Okay. That's a large majority of these men. So now, therefore, there's a whole, you could see, Michael, what we're talking about here, there are all these new skill sets we have to learn. And most of them, they're not natural for us. It's not natural for us to sit in pain. It's not natural to sit in somebody else's pain. It's not natural to be vulnerable. It's not natural not to run away if I'm feeling this, sense of discomfort. And all of these things we have to wind up learning how to do. And that's why, as you said before, it's a process.
hmm, we have to relearn the coping strategy and move to healthy means instead of the unhealthy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. As you said to me before when we were talking before we came on the air, you said it was about reparenting. And it is. And the main thing the kid wants to know is, are you going to be here for me? Do I have to go through all this pain that I'm seeing right out there that's going on here? Do I have to do it alone? Or are you going to be here? That's what he
Mhm.
wants. He wants an adult who's going to be able to handle it.
Right. Yeah, that's the next step number five.
Correct.
Uh, Reparenting would be I'm going to take the initiative. So yeah, step four and five, really both of them. The child wants to run away. As an adult, I'm going to face it and choose to lean into it, which is harder. But I always tell guys in our Men in the Battle program, hard isn't necessarily bad. It's just hard.
Right.
Hard many times is good for us, isn't
Yeah.
it?
That's why,
Eat your
again, like,
vegetables, you know.
don't talk to my wife about that. When you look at step five is about now taking all those emotions that we've sat down and wrote about. These are all the things I'm feeling. And we're taking those. Now, again, this is the child's raw emotion. This is what we run on most of the time. This is what we're reacting with. But now we're going to take all these emotions and we're going to move them over here to rational thinking. And when I do this in step five, what I have to do now is everything that's in this pile, that's an assumption, I have to throw it away. Everything that is a based on fear, I have to discard. Everything that is based on a lie, remember, we go back to those lies I believe about myself, have to be removed. So you keep doing that, and what you wind up with are only the things that you can factually prove. What have I done? I've taken the intensity of my anxiety and I've dropped it down dramatically. Because again, these things that I can prove could still be painful. They probably still are painful, but it's not this. It's this. This you can manage. That you can manage. And therefore, then that leads us into the last step, which is make the right choice, make a healthy decision. You can make it. You can't make it when you're feeling all these emotions. It's too overwhelming for us. And that's why we say exit. Instead, here, oh, I can make a right decision. I can do that. So now you're empowered. You're in control. And the inner child is like, hooray, this is good. You're handling it. I don't have to worry about it. Let me kick back.
Hmm. Yes, for sure. So five is use rational thinking to analyze the facts. What you feel versus what is real can be very different. And
Right.
then select the healthy choice, make the right choice and the healthy choice when you can manage, you pare it down to what's actually really happening in front of you, then you can actually manage that. I like that visual, where you had your hands apart and then much smaller from a foot long to an inch. You can manage an inch, not a foot. Not the big
Well,
the big piece that you're really feeling is not from today.
right. Again, another wonderful word picture, right? A foot of, or maybe a mile of problems. Okay. You turned into a yard. You could do the yard. You could do 10 yards. You might be able to do 100 yards, but you can't do a mile. And so therefore it gives a lot of confidence. It gives hope. I don't feel helpless. I don't feel overwhelmed any longer. I can do this. And so therefore I don't have to keep running away and engaging in destructive behaviors.
Hmm.
Instead, I can handle things the way an adult should handle it. I'm no longer being driven by my inner child. I am now managing my inner child.
Right. And moving in the right direction. Actually, that was my comment on reparenting myself is I am moving myself in the direction of resolving conflict, which did not happen in my childhood. I'm moving toward these emotions instead of running away from them. So I I think that as I've been using this model more and more, the idea is that those triggers are less. So, 90% moves to 80% to 70% to 60%. The same situation is less of an effect on
Yeah.
me, and I can resolve it faster. But it doesn't just go away. It's not like life is beautiful, everything is, that's a pipe dream. We live in a
Mhm.
microwave society. I want something for nothing. I want it to happen quickly. And that's the other thing. That is childlike thinking as well too, isn't
It
it?
is. It is. And the thing is, the inner child, our inner child's not going away. He's always going to be there. He's fearful and he's sad. Okay. We just need to be there to offer him the hope that I can handle this. And you don't need to be as fearful as you are. But you know what? Yes, I mean, I still get triggered by things. I created this and I still get triggered. But again, you walk through the process and you're able to put things in perspective versus just reacting.
Hmm.
We need to move away from reactive behaviors. We need to become more responsive.
Right. So this chapter, we were talking about the worksheet that is being inserted into the book that people can buy on Amazon, hard copy. That's going to be added in there in a week, and it's also in the workbook. So there's a Going Deeper workbook as well that people can buy.
Right.
And using the worksheet is really it's extremely helpful with space to write down these things. Um, yeah, the as I told you before, the only problem I had with the worksheet is there just wasn't enough space on there. I needed several copies to write down some of the things. Um, in a joking way, but it is true. Yeah, I had to write on the side of the page once, and having that worksheet handy, sitting on my desk so I can
Uh,
access it quickly
well,
when
I have good
when
news
needed.
for you. I have good news for you, Michael. As time goes on, you won't need the worksheet anymore. You'll do it all right here. You'll be able to do it in your head. The more and more you do that, then you're able to sit there and figure out, okay, what are the emotions? Okay. Is that emotion valid? Not valid. Is it an assumption? Is it a fear? Is it a lie? Throw it out. What are the facts?
Hmm.
And you can do it in minutes.
Hmm. So the time frame and the triggers that they do get it does get better
Yes,
as you go
absolutely.
along.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because what it is, you keep getting a history of learning how to remember. You got like 4 or 5 triggers. Okay, they keep popping up. They're the same ones that are popping up all the time. You're knowing now I can manage those. You don't really need to go through the whole process. I know what the lies are. I know what the assumptions are. I know what the fears are. So therefore, I can, like I said, in a matter of moments, sometimes seconds, change it.
Hmm.
Yeah, as you continue to do it over time.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Eddie, so much for joining us today and sharing. Guys, jump on Amazon, grab a copy of this book, Going Deeper by Eddie Capparucci, and read through the chapters. The advice Eddie actually gave me was, read through the first few chapters and then you can jump to the last chapter, see where this is going, where it's headed, which is some of the things we discussed here on the podcast. So you can actually start to implement this and then go through the rest of the children, the rest of the chapters, so you can continue to develop and log those emotional triggers, narrow it down to four or five, and you're on your way. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure, my friend.
Hmm.